Are you going to Pokémon GO Fest in New York City coming up? Well, if so, please stop, watch this video, because I am a lifelong New Yorker, born and raised here, and I'm going to give you some really great tips before you get here, so hopefully the trip is a little bit better for you. So a few days ago, I made this question post on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, asking if you guys would be interested in some tips, and overwhelmingly the response was yes, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the very first tip I always give absolutely everyone who comes to visit me in New York is this. If you have back pockets, or you're carrying a backpack or something with a pocket, a lot of people will just throw their phone in there or throw valuables like wallets or keys or just things in their back pockets. Please don't do that. Just don't do it. There are people in this city who are very good at pickpocketing, and they will target you if you have items in your back pocket. So if you can store things in a different pocket or hold it in your hand or somewhere that isn't really easy for someone to get to, that is probably a better option. Additionally, if you are the kind of person that likes to leave things at your seat when you go use the restroom at a restaurant or something like that, please take them with you. Don't leave your items at your seat. People might steal them. Also, New York has a lot of public Wi-Fi spots, but I personally do not advise that you use them. Why? Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who like to do not so great things on those Wi-Fi networks, and if you connect to them, you could open up yourself to viruses and other potentially dangerous things. Another one that might surprise a lot of people is that there will be people in New York who will approach you, try to speak to you, potentially try to hand you things. Do not interact with people like this. Please, I cannot stress this enough. If someone tries to hand you something in this city and is not someone you know, do not take it, just ignore them and keep walking. I see this a lot, especially in commonly touristy areas like Times Square, where people will try to hand you CDs or other things like beads. I've seen people try to hand other people beaded jewelry and stuff. Just don't take it. It's a scam. People will usually hand you things and then try to make you pay for them after it's in your hands. So just don't take anything from people you don't know. Now let's talk a little bit about public transportation. So in New York City, we have the New York City subway, which is the MTA Metro. In the past, you used to have to carry something called a Metro card, which you would use to swipe and, get through the gate. However, you no longer need a Metro card, and you can now use your phone. If you have Apple Pay or Google Pay, you can set that up in advance to work with the city's OMNY network, and you can basically Apple Pay or Google Pay your way through the subway, and this also works with the bus systems too. So yeah, I recommend that you set Apple Pay or Google Pay up before you get here. This also will be helpful for you if you go to a grocery store or somewhere where you can just tap your phone to pay for stuff, because honestly in New York City you kind of want to take out your wallet as little as possible. You really don't want to be waving your wallet and your phone around in public, if at all possible. Anyway, back to transportation. If you are carrying a large bag with you, such as a suitcase or some kind of luggage or even a backpack, please be mindful of the people around you, because New Yorkers, we really are not into it when tourists show up with large bags and just kind of wave them around, because a lot of New York is very crowded and condensed, and a lot of people are stuck in a very small space. So if you have a lot of large bags or things, just be mindful that you're not, hitting anybody with them or just running over people's feet. I've seen that happen, and it is not pretty. Now, this is a very important one for people who have any sort of bladder or intestinal issues. There are not a lot of public bathrooms in New York, unfortunately. This is something that a lot of New Yorkers, and honestly anybody who comes to New York, complains about. So I highly recommend that you look into something called Got to Go NYC. It's a group that literally posts public bathrooms on a map that you can go to if you need them. Now, so let's talk about using the subway, because I'm guessing a lot of you guys are probably going to want to save some cash. So if that's you, let's learn how to use the subway as quickly and as painlessly as we can. All right. So obviously I'm not going to be able to teach you the entire subway map in 5 minutes, but I will give you a general rule of thumb. Assuming you are in Manhattan, if you are going uptown or downtown, there are two different trains that you can take. They'll both be called the same thing. So let's say you're using the F train. There is an uptown F train heading towards Queens and a downtown F train heading towards Brooklyn, right? So just be mindful that when you're getting on the train that you know whether you're supposed to be going uptown or downtown. Because if I'm trying to go uptown and I take the downtown train, I'm gonna end up all the way in Brooklyn when I was trying to get up north, you know? I highly recommend that when you're going somewhere using the subway or using really any sort of directions, that you always take a screenshot of where you're going and the steps. You know, like if you're using Google Maps or something like that, it'll show you the steps on how to get from A to B. Just take a screenshot before you go, because sometimes it's not as common anymore, but sometimes the subways don't always have the best internet service. So you just kind of want to have that in an offline capacity, if you catch my drift. I also recommend that you take a screenshot of the subway map itself just so you can look at it. Now let's talk about food options, because I bet you a lot of people are going to be looking for inexpensive food options in New York City. Let me tell you, there's a lot of very yummy but expensive food in New York, so let's talk about some inexpensive, quick food options that are not restaurants. In the city, we have these things called bodegas. You may or may not have heard of them before. They are like small delis that are on corners just as you're walking around the city. They're locally owned businesses, and they'll have things like maybe a little sandwich corner or some chips or some candy or just like really basic things, maybe toiletries. Like if you forget, like, I don't know, let's say you need like something to shave with, they'll have that, or deodorant or something. We also have fast food options just like you would in other parts of the country, so that's an option for some. We also are very much known for our pizza in New York. There are a lot of relatively inexpensive pizza places around, so try not to hit up Domino's while you're here. Go to like an actual New York pizza place. I highly recommend it. Also, another choice for people who like Chinese food, if you are in Manhattan, Chinatown is an awesome place to get authentic Chinese food. There's some really great stuff down here, and it's not super expensive, so that's an option for you as well. Again, most of these tips that I'm giving you are Manhattan based, because I know a lot of you guys are tourists and you're probably going to be in Manhattan at some point during GO Fest, so just throwing that out there. There are other things that you could do in the outer boroughs as well, but I'm mainly talking about Manhattan right now. Well, what if you're coming in from like Jersey City and you're taking the PATH train? I get this a lot. So New Jersey has their own train, their own service. It's called the PATH train, and it's different than the New York MTA Metro. They have their own card. It's literally like a PATH card, and it does not use Google Pay or Apple Pay. So please just be aware of that if that applies to you, that you cannot use Google Pay or Apple Pay with the New Jersey transit system. They don't have that yet. It's only for New York City at the moment. All right, now I'm gonna get into some safety tips. If you do not know this area, please, I do not recommend you walk around by yourself, and I also do not recommend that you walk around at night, especially by yourself. Not gonna lie, although New York is much safer than a lot of people think it is, there are also some areas that are not so safe. So if you can help it, please do not walk around by yourself. And if you do have to walk around by yourself, just have a buddy system, text somebody or something, just like, you know, be safe. And if you're the kind of person that really likes to party and you may get intoxicated, just, you know, have Uber or Lyft ready just in case. The last thing you need is to be wandering around on the subway while really drunk. It's not a good idea. I cannot believe that I have been talking already for 10 minutes. I have more tips if you would like. Just please let me know down below if you would like me to give a part 2. And good luck! Enjoy New York, everyone!